Hi, I'm Rob, and in this video I'm going to talk about the PS5 Pro, why I'm probably getting one, why I don't think the price is actually as bad as some people are saying, and why I don't think that lack of disk drive and vertical stand is as big a deal as people are saying. Right, so first things first, let's talk about that price point and why I don't think it's actually as bad as people are saying. There's been a lot of face pulling on thumbnails and things like that and what have you, and some crazy comments as well, like which we'll go into as well, because some of them have been quite comical as well. Some comments along the lines of, this is exactly the same as a PS5 but without the disk drive. It's not. It's actually quite a lot more powerful, and there's other benefits as well, like more than double the SSD storage for games as well, which is really important, and I'll come to that in a minute, because for me that is a big deal. But the price point of $699 in the UK, it's $699, and I think it's $699 in America as well. It is expensive, but the thing is, remember, this is not a replacement PS5. This is not like a PS6 coming along and an upgrade where basically you need to buy this to play the latest games. No one needs to buy this. This is like a console for the uber fans out there, the people that just want the latest, best version of the current model of what they can have to enjoy the best games the best they can be. If you don't want to buy a PS5, you don't have to. So all the people saying, oh, it's a rip-off and stuff like this, it's not a rip-off, because no one's forcing you to buy it. No one's holding a gun to your head saying you got to buy this, otherwise I'm going to pull the trigger. That's not happening at all. It's a choice. If you don't want to buy it, you don't have to. If it's too expensive, ignore it. It's not like I say, a new generation console coming out. This is a mid-generation upgrade for the people that actually want the best of what they can have. If you think it's too expensive, then you obviously can ignore it. But let's go over why I think $699 I don't think is actually too bad, and part of it is to do with the SSD storage. Now, the PS5 doesn't even have 1 terabyte of internal game storage, and for me this is a real pain. I've got a friend who upgraded his when he first got his machine, and I think he paid something like £150 or something, or even more than that, for the decent fast storage. So that's £150 on top of what the PS5 already cost. That's already making it very expensive, and we're not even talking about the extra stuff that the Pro can do yet. So we've got more storage than that in the first place, which is expensive, and we've got a machine which is far more capable than a PS5, and it is more capable. I've seen some comments, like I say, people saying it's no more powerful at all. It is. It's a big chunk more powerful. Like at the moment with the PS5, you have to kind of choose between performance and fidelity. This is one of the points of the PS5 Pro for the people that actually don't want to make that choice anymore. They just want the best of both worlds. Most people pick performance mode, I think. I do. Whenever there's an option, I'd rather have smoother graphics with slightly less detail than I would supposedly better graphics, which are jerky when I move around. I love smoothness in games. I'd rather lose a bit of graphical fidelity and have lovely silky smooth graphics. To me, that is something which is really, really important. But one of the points of the PS5 is you don't have to make that choice anymore. You can have literally the best of both worlds. But if you're happy with the PS5 and the performance, and you're happy with just picking performance mode, still getting smooth graphics, then happy days. I can see why people would still be happy just sticking with a normal PS5, because it's still a very, very capable machine. And then sometimes anyway, when you pick between performance and fidelity, you actually look at both options, and you have to kind of have a little proper look sometimes, try and see the differences. Sometimes it's just the frame rate being a lot smoother, which is really obvious when you turn around. Ratchet and Clank, for example, on the PS5 Pro, you can see when you move around, it's completely smooth on the Pro. On the base PS5, you can see it's actually a little bit jerky in the background. So for some people, that'd be worth it. Some people will say, well, I can live with that for 700 quid. But remember, this may not necessarily cost £700 or $699 bar a pound or $1, wherever you're from, because if you sold your PlayStation 5, you cut a massive chunk off the cost of that PS5 Pro. And that's what a lot of people will be doing when they change to a Pro. Like when the PS4 Pro came out, a lot of people didn't keep their base PS4, they sold that one and put it towards the PS4 Pro, which brought the price down considerably. And then for maybe 300 on top, 350 on top, worst case scenario probably, you've got a far more capable machine with more than double the SSD storage that the other one had. And it is far more capable than a base PS5. There's absolutely no doubt about that. It's a big chunk more powerful. And other comments too, like there's people out there saying this is pushing them towards PC gaming. For 700 they'll build their own PC and get a better performance than a PS5 Pro. Good luck with that. I don't think that's going to happen at new prices. Absolutely no chance. Second-hand prices, if you get some second-hand stuff or stuff that fell off the back of a lorry, probably. But new prices, I don't think you've got any chance of coming anywhere near the PS5 Pro performance on a PC for the same sort of money with new parts. I mean, the graphics card is equivalent is half that straight away. Then 2 terabytes of SSD, fast SSD storage as well. Then all the other stuff to make up a PC. You're not doing that for $699, not with new parts anyway. But having said that, I'm not necessarily saying it's a bargain either, because it is expensive. $699 is a lot of money, and it's a games console. With a gaming PC, obviously, there's a whole bunch of extra things you can do on a PC besides just play games and watch films. Because obviously you can't even watch films on the Pro because it doesn't have the disk drive with it, which is what I'm coming to now. Now, the lack of disk drive and how relevant or important that is going to vary from person to person. If you watch your Blu-ray films, for example, using your PS5 disc version, then obviously that is a game changer to you, because the PS5 Pro doesn't have a disk drive, therefore it becomes irrelevant to you, because that's just a complete no-brainer. You can't use it, you shouldn't have to buy something else to watch films on. And yeah, good choice, because the PS5 is still a brilliant machine. But for me, and this will vary upon, like I say, person to person, but this is particularly relevant to me, is I've got 2 PS5s. I've got one upstairs in my main games room, and I've got one downstairs in my arcade room, in an arcade cab. And I've never ever put a disc in that machine yet. Not even once. I've just got the disc machine as something just in case I ever used it. And this one up here I've had since launch day. And it's had one PS5 game in it ever. And that was Devil May Cry 5, which I got on the day it came out at the same time. So I hardly ever put a disc in my PS5. I've got a separate 4K player for films. I prefer to use that. The only time a disc has been in my PlayStation 5 other than that is basically for the PS4 games, which I've played every now and again. But apart from that, it just simply doesn't happen. So for me, the lack of a drive on the PS5 Pro is not a big deal at all. Right, next up, that vertical stand and the fact you have to buy one if you want to use one. And again, well, I don't think that is as big a deal as people are making out. Now, if you have your console vertically, then obviously it will be a bit miffed that you've got to pay an extra whatever it costs to get a vertical stand, as well as that $699 for a Pro. Of course, you can be a bit upset by that. That is perfectly understandable. You think, for $699, why on earth couldn't they chuck one of them in the box at the same time? Well, no doubt it's all about keeping the price under $699, and it's one of the reasons probably a drive wasn't included at the same time. Not only because probably not many people use the drive anymore, but also the same as the vertical stand. I think more people actually use their PlayStation 5 horizontally as opposed to vertically. And let's imagine that that ratio is actually really high. Say 80% plus of people keep their PlayStation 5 or use it in the horizontal position. I mean, I'll bet there's like sensors inside the PlayStation which basically tell Sony how people have their consoles. So they'll know whether people have their console horizontal or vertical. And if a very high number of people keep their console horizontal as opposed to vertical, then they're going to think, well, why should we put a vertical stand in a box which is going to push the price above $699 into that horrible 700 and something territory when most people aren't going to use it? Let's just imagine the number is, say, 80% of people have their PlayStation horizontal, so only 20% have it vertical. They're not going to put something in the box which is going to make the thing more expensive into a price zone which they didn't want to do in the first place, like 729 or something, or 719. It's like, you know, 699 is bad enough, but 700 anything is just like plain hideous for something which 4 out of 5 people aren't going to use. You can sort of see why they did that. And like I said, it's probably very similar with the disk drive. They can probably see a very high percentage of people hardly ever touch or use the disk drive in their machine. So what is the point of including one if it's going to make the price even higher? Next up, let's talk about that SSD storage and why, for me, that is a bit of a game changer, and one of the reasons it's going to make me really enjoy the PS5 Pro a lot more than the base PS5. Well, the base PS5 hasn't even got 1 terabyte of usable internal storage for games. It's like got 800 and something, which is usable. And it's not a lot. The size of some of these games these days is absolutely enormous. You can just have a handful of games sometimes and not have enough space for another one. It's absolutely mad. What you need to do is have a external drive attached to your PS5, which I've got. I've got a bunch of PS4 games on there. And what you have to do sometimes is basically move one of those PS5 games off onto that external hard drive and then shift it back again when you want to play it. It's a hell of a lot quicker than re-downloading it, so it is a okay option. It's just not very convenient, especially in 2024. For example, I've got Mortal Kombat 8, I think it is, on the external drive, the PS5 version, and a friend wants to play that now and again. I don't really play it on my own, single player. It's just a multiplayer game. I like to have a laugh with friends from time to time. But to play that, say he gave me a text later on, says he wants to play some Mortal Kombat 8 tonight. I said, yeah, I can do that. First of all, I've got to create the space on the PS5. I've got to move a game off, or several games off, to make space for Mortal Kombat 8 and move them to the external drive. And then once that's done, I've got to then shift Mortal Kombat 8 from the external drive onto the PlayStation. It's all a bit of a cumbersome faff in 2024. And it doesn't finish there, of course. When we finish playing that, and we get to say tomorrow, and I fancy playing my other games again, I've then got to do the opposite. I've got to move Mortal Kombat 8 back off of the PS5 onto the external drive, wait for that to finish, then shift my games back from the external drive I want to play back onto the PS5. It's like, crikey, that is a faff. So for me, that 2 terabyte of storage is going to be an absolute godsend, because I won't actually have to do that anymore. So for me, that is really good. And if you upgraded a PS5 with an extra 1 terabyte of storage, you're still not going to have as much storage as is in Pro, but it's going to cost you quite a lot of money as well. I mean, when you add that to the base price of a PS5, and then you think about the difference between that and a PS5 Pro and the extra performance you're getting, I don't think it's actually that bad. For a lot of people, that extra ray tracing, the ability to play all those PS4 games, I think they said 8,500 games are going to be enhanced or something like that, which you won't be able to do on a base PS5. That's huge. Now, one other big thing for me, and this is like a personal thing, not everybody will be able to do this, regarding their PlayStation 5 consoles, is I've got one in my racing cabinet downstairs, and this is my launch model upstairs. When I get the Pro, this is going to allow me to move this console upstairs into my living room arcade cabinet, which is the one I use with proper joysticks for fighting games and things like that. And what that means is, like, when I play stuff like Street Fighter 6, Street Fighter 5, Tekken 8, Tekken 7, Soul Calibur, all those really cool fighting games and some other ones besides, normally I have to pick up my joystick and sit in my chair there with it on my lap. It's good, but it's not like an arcade experience. With a PlayStation 5 in the arcade cabinet, it can be there permanent. I can benefit from all that super fast loading still and the really, really nice graphics of the PlayStation 5 on that arcade cabinet, playing those fighting games with joysticks in an arcade layout, and that kind of frees up memory on my Pro as well, because I don't have to have Tekken 8, Mortal Kombat and things like that installed up here anymore. They can be on that downstairs cabinet permanently on an arcade machine with joysticks the way they were intended to play. And that gives me even more space, so that 2 terabyte becomes kind of even more, because I'm sharing those games around now between the consoles. So for me, that is another benefit of the PlayStation 5 Pro. Now, I know a lot of people won't be able to do that, because some people would have to maybe sell their PlayStation 5 to get the Pro. But again, that is an option. If funds are tight and you really want a Pro, then you can actually sell your PlayStation 5 probably for really decent money and knock off a massive chunk off that price of that PlayStation Pro. But obviously a lot of people are going to say it's simply not worth it. The things it gives me, smoother graphics, ray tracing, don't really care about that. I've only got a few games on my console anyway, I don't need the extra storage. Any of them things apply, obviously it becomes less value on the Pro, so it's literally each to their own. But yeah, let me know what you think about this in the comments, if you're getting one or not, and the reasons why, because everyone's different. Some people it'll be the worst value in the world ever, to other people it'll be something they literally can't wait for and are really looking forward to. But there's a video. If you enjoyed it, bash the like and subscribe button, it really does help. But most of all, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you again in the next one. Bye for now.